Alrighty, Karen Lovely here, the Power of Self-Evolution, the podcast. Oh my God, I'm so super happy. Boom, doom, boom, doom, boom, doom, boom, boom, doom, boom, doom. Like I gotta work on my beatbox. But so I don't know if most of the people listening know this, that I do volunteer work at the teenproject.com, where it takes in women from 18 years old to 24 up to about 30 years old that are homeless, addicts, out of jail on light felonies, non-threatening felonies, or non-dangerous felonies, meaning grand theft auto and drug possession, blah, blah, blah. And I teach hip hop there. And I was a former professional hip hop dancer back in the day. What day, I don't know, but let's not talk numbers. And so now I volunteer my time to teach hip hop, which is like the greatest thing ever, because I get to relive my teenage years on my terms that I never ever did, because I dealt with my own deep-seated self-loathing, self-hating depression. I absolutely came from chronic depression my entire life since I was a baby, and then suicidal tendencies my entire life, even though I grew up in a privileged family and a wealthy family. And I had my first drug of choice and addiction was, and I still have to work with it. It was perfectionism and overachievement, having to achieve things to prove underneath it all that I matter, that I'm worthy, that I'm good enough, and that I'm lovable and not hateable. Because I hated myself. I thought I was fat, ugly. I was different because I was a minority growing up in New Jersey, and I was the only Chinese girl in my high school other than 3 FOBs, fresh off the boats, and my sister. And I was the beauty of the family, so she wasn't really competition for me. I was like Marsha in the Brady Bunch. Marsha. But a silent, depressed, suicidal Marsha. Can you believe that? And I'm talking to everyone who's listening. I am a recovering addict, if you will. And I've used all sorts of different healthy addictions to cope with my life, to prove at some level that I'm worthy, and to prove that people like me and I'm likable, yada, yada. And so teaching this hip hop has been so fulfilling, and it's not easy. You know, these girls are coming in off the streets. Often they are homeless. They have drug track marks, not only in their arms, but in their legs, giving birth to babies that are high as a kite and then have to be put on methadone and then more drugs to get the babies off. So there's a lot of things that go on here. But this morning, I am so grateful and honored to have one of my most special angel dance students who graduated from the program and is doing so amazingly well that I'm like beside myself, ecstatic. But she's been dancing in the dance class. She kicked butt. There are times we would dance for 2.5, 3 hours, and she would still hang in there, and she killed it. And so this morning, here she is. I want to introduce one of the most brilliant lights, happiest, beautiful spirits I have ever come to meet in my life. Not only that, her story is so inspiring. Let's get to it. Good morning, girl. What's up, Bianca Bunny?
Good morning.
Oh my God, I know that's a long intro, but I had to kind of give everybody, you know, the story of how we met. That's how we met at Freehab. Mm-hmm. Right, and it's now, it was called Freehab, and now it's called the teenproject.com. If anyone wants to donate to the cause, please do. So we met. So tell me, there you had to admit yourself. You had to actually come through the door and say, I want help. Is that right? So we know that officially.
Yeah.
So tell me from there, what was happening in your life, and how did you get there?
At the time, I was going through a lot. I was addicted to crystal meth for about 2 years, and it took my life it was definitely spiraling out of control. And I finally, things were happening in my life, and I finally just needed to, push myself and check into a rehab. And I never thought I would have to do that, but eventually it did come down to it. My family was taking care of my daughter, and they basically said that if you don't get yourself together, like, you can't see her. So that was, like, one wake-up calls I did have, and at first I was a little hesitant, and then another push that I did have was my relationship. That was very definitely rocky, and he also was like, if you don't do something, like, this relationship is basically over, like, we can't be together. So those were the two, like, main factors that happened to push me. And then also, I forgot, his name is Walter. Me and Walter, we actually got pregnant one time before, and then I was using so much, and I was also drinking while I was pregnant, and I really didn't care. That's how out of control it got, and I wound up going into premature labor. My baby was 24 weeks, and I had him. I had to have an emergency C-section and everything, and what happened was, after I had him, his little body, he was only 1 pound, and all the drugs I had taken, he had taken, and it was just too much for him, and his lungs weren't fully developed. So he unfortunately passed the day after Easter, which is crazy. So those were, like, the things that was like, okay, like, enough is enough, like,
Wow.
So I finally just, I sat down with myself, and I remember I was getting high, and I was getting high, but I wasn't getting high. And a lot of things were going on in my head, and I finally just was like, what am I doing? Like, what exactly am I doing? And I just looked at my surroundings, and I'm like, this isn't what I want. This isn't me. And, maybe I should just go and get help. So I did some research, took it up on myself, and I met up with this guy named John. He actually helped me get into rehab. Shout out to John. He's super cool. I was looking for a whole different rehab, but he was like, no, this is the right one for you. There's girls your age, and it's a really good program, and I think you should do it. And at the time, I wasn't being picky or anything. I'm just like, whatever, just give me something to where I could stay, because at the time I was also living on the streets. I got tired of sleeping at parks and sleeping on couches, so it was enough was enough. And even though I wasn't completely ready, I knew I had to just get up and go, because if I waited until I was ready, then I'll never be ready. So I just finally just got up one morning and I left, and I just actually celebrated my 1 year on the 20th. So that was really, really cool.
Wow, congratulations. Yeah, 1 year, meaning for the people who don't know, 1 year clean or and sober, right? 1 year drug-free. Yeah, 1 year drug-free. Oh my gosh. So I did not know about the baby, so I have just some questions about that. And yeah, that often the girls are using, and you're one of them, while pregnant, and so just to break that down for people, where there's no judgment, there's no criticism, addiction to anything is really a mask and a gross cover up for deep-seated unworthiness and a lack of connection to our greatness, actually, and feeling really bad about ourselves. That all starts in early childhood, and then we try to mask the pain. See, consciously we think we're trying to be happier with the addiction to feel good. Do you remember that? You're like, oh, I want to feel good, or I don't want to feel sad. I want to feel better. Right? That's the conscious thing that happens. The unconscious and the subconscious phenomenon underneath that is really masking pain, trying to shove it down, make it go away, anesthetize ourselves from the pain, and we don't even know it. It's blind to us in general as human beings, and so that's what keeps feeding into the addictions. Now, so let me get the chronology correct. So actually, when you met Walter, it was love at first sight for him, right? Wasn't it? Because
right.
Yeah. you were walking by and he saw you and he was like, what up?
Yeah,
Right? He was like, what's going on, baby? No, he didn't say that. Yeah. So he ran up to you and told me, right, we were just kind of prepping for this podcast.
Yeah.
You kind of shared, and then it was mutual. You felt the same way about him.
Right. We were walking home from school, and I've been knowing him since high school. So what happened was we were walking home one day, and he wound up at the time he wound up living in the same neighborhood as us. So like I was walking home, and then him and his cousins were walking too. We were all going to the same school, and all of a sudden I hear like, hey, like, and I turned around. I'm like who the heck is it? And then I just see this guy running up to me, and then as he gets closer, I'm like, okay, hey.
Oh, you're like, what? And then you're like, what?
Right?
What? Oh, right.
Hi. And then so he wound up introducing himself. We introduced ourselves and everything like that, and it was head over heels since then. Like, we would see each other at school and everything, and we would talk and we would flirt, and we really didn't become a couple until after high school, but we definitely kept in touch.
Yeah, but hang on, let's talk about the drugs. Were you using when you met him?
At the time I was smoking weed and drinking a lot.
Okay, smoking weed and drinking a lot, and then how old were you when you met him? Do you remember?
Oh, shoot, I had to be about like 16, maybe 15.
Okay, and he's the same age?
Yeah, he's a year older than me.
Okay, so he's like a grade above you.
Yeah.
Okay, so but now here's the thing that's really important. He's a normie. When you told me that term, normie means he doesn't use. He's not a drug addict. He's never a drug addict, right? So isn't that interesting? You're just starting.
Right. He doesn't drink. He doesn't smoke. Not even on occasions. He's just, he's happy that way. He can have fun without, doing all that.
I know, and I got to tell you, I was like, wow, that's amazing. Oh, you're so lucky. You attracted a normie, right? Remember we were talking? I'm like, oh my God, my ex-boyfriend was a normie. Like, it used to piss me off a little bit. I'm like, come on, something. Like, really? It was just like, really? So it's interesting. This is a lot of times the dynamic that occurs. So you're just getting into your serious using, and you attract this great guy whom you're with today, right?
Yes.
So, okay, so there you are. You just stayed in touch, but you were not a couple. Did you see, like, looking backwards, did you see how you might have sabotaged yourself from a relationship with him because of your using? Do you see that? Like, why? Why didn't you hook up with him immediately? Right? Like,
right.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
And it's because that's what we do. We stay in the cycle like we don't deserve it. Like, he was almost too good to be true. Right?
Right, exactly.
And underneath that is he's going to reject me because I'm not good enough. Underneath it. We don't know it at the time, but we have this weird feeling. Do you remember feeling like, Yeah. Okay, so then time goes on. Now, so then when did you get pregnant with him? So then time goes on, and what happens? You start dating.
Yes.
Yeah,
we started dating. We both went to Texas after high school and everything like that, and I went to Houston, I went to Dallas, and then we wound up coming back to California at the same time. And again, we were still keeping in touch and everything like that. So I came back to California first, and then he came. And then once I found out that he was coming, like, we met up as soon as we could, and we started hanging together and everything like that, and we got closer. And the whole time we were getting closer, I was keeping a huge secret, and I started using crystal meth. And I didn't want to. Of course, I don't want to, tell him that, because he thinks, I'm, I guess, perfect at this time. So I wanted to keep up that image, and so we were dating. Everything was going really cool, but then, of course, you know, addicts, we tend to lie and everything like that. And I started lying and everything like that, and you know, it just got really bad. But
is this the time that you got pregnant?
Too.
I'm sorry. Say that again.
Yeah, I had my good days too, and when I had my good days, we were really good, and I wound up getting pregnant the first time, and initially, like, at first, we were, like, you know, we were really happy, but then, like, you know, it was still kind of, like, rocky because, you know, he really didn't know what was going on with me, so all he knew was just that I was just lying all the time, and eventually he did find out, and it kind of just made the relationship all bad, so, like, the whole time I was pregnant, like, we were, like, on and off, and we were always arguing and everything like that, and because of the arguing, I would use more, and, you know, like, I was always, at the time, too, I was, like, back and forth from, like, friend's house and everything, back and forth from his house, and, you know, it was crazy, like, at the time, I was basically homeless, too, so he would, like, let me come stay, you know, at times when I was clean, and, you know, and then I'll start an argument so I can have an excuse to go out and use, you know, and he would get really mad because I'm like, you know, I'm using and I'm pregnant, and, you know,
and he knew it.
It was crazy.
He knew it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and another thing, too, I think it made him more mad because he couldn't really do much about it, you know?
Of course. You know, because he you know, from day one, he was into you, he loves you, and this is the codependent dynamic, too, is because I went through this with my sister, who died in 2006, right? I was so angry, and we'd fight all the time because I was fighting for her life. That was the fight. So I'm going to say all your arguments probably, right, looking backwards, were about you getting clean and sober, right? And that's probably the arguments. And then you sabotaged it by arguing. You just said it, which is so brilliant. You made up excuses to go use again, to feed right back into, you know, I want to feel good because I feel really crappy about myself underneath it all. And we can't see it. Right? So those are the arguments. Okay, so now you're pregnant using full-blown crystal meth, right? Were you shooting it up? I guess that's how you do it, right? You shoot up crystal meth? Or,
no, well, yeah, you can shoot it, but mine, I was smoking it.
Okay, so, and then you didn't care. You knew you were pregnant, and you didn't care. And
a part of me, like, cared, but, like, the other part, like, I call it my Gemini, because I'm a Gemini. I'm a full-blown Gemini, so I'm always, like, indecisive, or I'm, like, battling in my own thoughts with myself, you know? So, like, I would say, like, one side of me was definitely, like, oh, like, I want to be a mom again, and, you know, like, this is so, you know, I'm ready for this. This is, you know, I'm happy, like, we're having a baby. Then the other side was, like, okay, just one more time, like, and then after this, it's, you know, you'll be clean, you'll sober up, you know, it's just one more time. And then, at the time, too, one of my friends, I would see her, and she was using, and her babies came out, like, fine, so I was using that as an excuse to use, too, you know?
Wow. What, and you know what? It's amazing. Some of these babies do. I want to address this because this is so powerful. So, you were justifying that, and that's so, again, brilliant that you can see that, right? That's wonderful that you can see that. And so here you thought, okay, and I want to talk about, it's a Gemini thing, but underneath the Gemini thing, what it is the angel within ourselves and the devil within ourselves, or the evil. We all have it as human beings. Whether we're Geminis or not, I went through the same thing, even at my level. It's that enemy. It's that inner enemy, the one who's like, no, you don't deserve it. You're not good enough. You don't matter. You're not worthy, right? Your mom doesn't love you. My dad doesn't love me. Whatever it is, there's that one, you know, like that evil energy or that evil voices, right? Versus, and I call that the higher consciousness. I mean, the lower consciousness, right? Like the self-sabotaging person. And then there's the other one, whereas the consciousness, that was a part of you that was good, that you'd hang out with Walter then, and things were good, right? And that's what saved our life, I believe. And that it's that highest consciousness of you at some level. Do you remember this? That you knew at some level something was wrong and that you had the power somehow within you, yes, to like get out of these circumstances. Remember that?
Right.
That's what had you go get help. Like me. You know, I had attempted suicide. Like, that was it. I'm out. Right. Finally. There are many times I'm like, all right, I'm contemplating, okay, how am I going to do this? And then I'm like, I look at my horse, my black stallion. I'm like, heck no, I am not leaving yet, you know? But then this time I was done. And so there's that voice. But the voice that saved me, or the knowing, I call it, that consciousness that you talk about, I don't know if you're aware of this, is you're like, you know, you said to yourself, like I said to myself, wait a minute, there's a glimmer of hope. There's a chance. Right. Okay? And that, I believe, is so important, because the people who actually end up dead are the ones who can't see or get in touch with or feel that little tiny little pinpoint worth of light and hope. Right. Okay? Right. Now, I just want to talk about, I love how you were justifying, okay, she had okay babies, you know, seriously on drugs. Now, I also believe, and tell me if this resonates with you, like this makes sense to you, that you losing your baby was the greatest divine intervention and blessing of your life. One, like the first, like, wake-up call. Right. Wasn't it? It was. Yes. Tell us about that. It definitely was. Yes. Now, nobody wants to lose a baby. Come on, let's be crystal clear here. Ha. No pun intended. Crystal clear. Yeah, but that baby wasn't meant to be here. That's what I believe. Right. And it definitely was a wake-up call, especially, too, because I wound up having him in Vegas, and the only reason why I ended up in Vegas was because I was with a friend, and she had got into some trouble out there, so she had to go to court out there. And me being me, I just wanted to ride along with her because, for one, I knew we were going to get, like, high as fuck. Like, you know, we're going to Vegas, you know? Yeah. So, yeah, okay. You know, right? So I knew we were going to get high as hell, you know, drinking, and I just knew it was going to be a good time, even though she had to go to court and everything like that. So I went along even though I was pregnant, and, you know, Walter, he knew I was going. Again, I lied, and I was like, nothing's going to happen. I'm just riding down with her, you know, trying to, you know, make it sound nice and everything like that. But I think deep down inside, he knew, like, what was up. Because every time I'm with this friend, this is what always happens. You know, we're always getting high. Yep. So we go to Vegas, and what happened was I'm getting high, and I'm like having blood clots come out, and they're really huge, and I'm not telling anybody. Oh my God. But eventually, like, my water breaks, and there's like a lot of blood, and I like pull her to the side, and I'm just like, hey, like, because we were the day we were coming back to California is the day that my water broke, and I'm like, hey, like, can you just drop me off at the hospital? And she's like, yeah, definitely. So that's basically what happened. She drops me off at the hospital. I'm there by myself. My mom eventually does come, thank God. She found her way out there. Thank God for moms. She came out there, and she was with me, and also too, she didn't know I was using while I was pregnant, you know. So a lot of secrets came out with that at the time too, because what happened was I saw him in the NICU, and I guess that was like the first wake up call, because like I was so, like, I felt so bad, and you know, I still have pictures of him, and you know, everything wasn't developed. He was like in the NICU. He looked like a little alien. Yeah. Like he was wrapped up in plastic wrap because his skin wasn't fully developed. He had on like this little mask, and he had like a gang of breathing tubes just up his nose, little IVs on his hands, and it was heartbreaking. And all I can do is say, like, I'm sorry, like, you know, even though that doesn't help or you know, bring him back, like, that's the only thing that came to mind was when I first saw him, was like, I am so sorry. And I was definitely heartbroken, and
the doctors, they did everything they could, but eventually, like, they told me, like, he's not improving, so you can either, keep him on the breathing machines or you can take him off, but just know that he's not improving. And I didn't want to see him suffer any more than I already made him suffer. So I made the decision to, take him off his breathing machines. And that there alone was definitely heartbreaking because, like, I'm young and I didn't know, I really didn't know how to deal with that. And even my mom was like, I wish I could take the pain for you, but I can't. This is something that you have to deal with. And definitely I understood what she was saying as a mother, and that right there was definitely like my first, and at the time I didn't know it, but I was like, maybe this is getting a little out of control. And at the time Walter, he wanted to be there, but there was a lot of arguments too with him and my family and everything like that. So it was kind of hard for him to be there like he wanted to, but he was definitely there. And once it had already hit me, but when it really, really hit me was when I had to come back to Vegas because I couldn't take him with me. So the hospital that I was in, it was a really good hospital. They actually, because we were out of town too, we didn't have nowhere to go, they actually hooked us up with the Ronald McDonald House. And it's really cool. Like, if you have like family members or anything in the hospital and you have nowhere to go, they have a special house and they have volunteers come cook for you every night. And it's a really nice house. It's really, really cool. So shout out to them too.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, we were there with them, and they definitely helped and supported us a lot. And so I couldn't take his body with me to California, so the hospital, they hooked us up with like this place who does free cremations and everything like that for babies, and they pay for the urn that he was in, and they basically did everything for free. And and all we had to do was pay for the death certificate, which is like $35, I believe, and that was it. So at this time, I went with Walter. Me and him, we went to go. We caught a bus to Vegas, and we went, and that definitely brought us a lot closer to each other. And he was definitely there for me a lot, especially too when we got back to California, because I was still like I was sober, so I was definitely dealing with emotions head on, and he was definitely there for me, So I definitely appreciate that from him a lot. Yeah. But we got through it, and it definitely brought us together.
Wow.
And everything, it just happened, like, in that order, so.
Okay, now, so it's interesting because I'm in tears thinking, oh, my gosh. And I'm in tears because I'm so proud of you. I'm so moved by your courage, by your ability to see all this. You're such a wise, like, old soul, really.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, wow. And it's also, bringing up like my sister is that I had to get for her. I knew I was in therapy, and I said to the therapist on day one, my sister's dying and I don't know what to do. She's killing herself with the drugs and the alcohol, and to cover up the incest and the sexual abuse. And I need help, like fucking help me save her, and in therapy, 5 years I laid on her couch and I didn't get any answers, although it was good. It made me feel better, and I really loved her. She's a really wonderful human being. But it's like the pain part is that these are happy tears too, is the point, right? Like all the things that happened for you were such, like, by the grace of the power of the divine. Let's just say it that way. Is that I don't believe in accidents, and there's almost like this team of angels who are like following you around, like going, okay, this is what you need, Ronald McDonald House. Okay, this is what you need. Okay, funeral. Okay, gift certificate, $35. Right? Exactly. Isn't that beautiful? And that's how it was for me and my sister. When she died, when I realized, and it took years for me, the guilt alone. When I realized that this was the greatest blessing of my life, she made her choice. I respect it. She made her choice. I respect it. And when she died, I was like, I thought it was up to me to save her. It wasn't. Is that it led me to my purpose, but not only did it lead me to my purpose, it had me, it was the biggest, best wake-up call of my life that actually gave me my own will to want to live and stay here. Now,
right.
It's so beautiful. Like, that's why I'm so, like, oh my gosh. And I had a brother that died of the crib death. He was already born. He was 2.5 months old before I was born. So my mom lost a baby boy that she gave birth to that was alive, and well, it seemed. But then he died at 2.5 months old. That's tragic too. But again, a blessing. Right? Because she didn't want any more kids, but the doctor said, go and get pregnant. And then there I came. You see?
Oh, okay.
So I know, right? So there's always like such beauty here. And the thing I love is Walter was there for you, right? He was there for you where many, many married couples and couples break up over crisis and tragedy because of the blame.
Right.
Did Walter blame you at all for the death of the baby?
Back then, I really thought that he did because, again, we were arguing on and off. But then, like, as time went on and especially after, he passed and everything, I started to realize, like, and I even asked him, I was like, do you blame me for anything? And he was just like, no, like, he doesn't. Like, he understands, he understood before me that I was an addict. And I think that's because his mom was an addict also. So he understands. And, I'm very grateful for him because he didn't blame me at all. And he didn't make me feel that way either. It was just my addict mind and my, insecurities just playing tricks on me, with all the negative stuff in my head.
How beautiful.
But eventually...
Yeah,
eventually, I got past it, and, he doesn't blame me, so thank God,
Right, but you were blaming yourself, like I was blaming myself at some level.
Right, I was definitely blaming myself a lot, like, a lot of self-pity parties and excuses just to go out and use again.
Exactly. Now, the beauty of it is, right, that can you take in right now, looking backwards and even talking about this, all the beauty around it, the blessings, the brilliance, the radiance. Can you get in touch with that right now? Of how amazing this experience, at face value, tragic, right? But if we really look at it, it's priceless. Right? You have an opportunity. I mean, who wouldn't want the love of their life, not blaming you? Okay, that was like 3 negatives. I don't know. But I'm saying he didn't blame you. He supported you. That's all you needed. Right? And that's what we need. That's what we need. No judgment, no criticism. Right. Don't tell me what to do. Don't tell me, it's your fault. I don't want to hear that because that's what makes people go out and use. So you were doing that to yourself, and sure enough, you wanted to go use because you were doing that. He didn't even have to. You were doing a perfect job of blaming yourself without anybody. Isn't that true? That's what we do.
Right.
And so how beautiful, because now you're with this man today. Guess what? Pregnant again. Yippee! Isn't that beautiful? So beautiful. Yep. And I know it brings up, like, I think of my sister and I feel a sense of like, oh, but then I say, no, she's happier where she is. She's not in pain anymore from being raped in college. She's not in pain. And that makes me happy. She was suffering. She was almost abducted in New York out of her apartment. She was drunk, or who knows, high, drunk, but she was definitely a bona fide, like, alcohol was her thing. And, but somebody, and I don't know who, almost like abducted her. And then her friend saved her. My biggest fear was like, oh God, we're not going to have a body. We're not going to have a body. And that freaked me out. So another blessing, there was a death. She died quickly.